Hi guys, this is gsmdom.com and I'm here with the Xiaomi Mi 10 Lite 5G for a full review. In the meantime, since the unboxing, we've also received MIUI 12 and we're going to cover it towards the end of this video. Okay, so this is one of those newfangled super high mid-range phones with 5G, Snapdragon 765G, a quad camera, and also a bonus. This time it has a glass back. It's priced at $300 and it's available in Aurora Blue, Cosmic Gray, and also a special shade of white. Okay, so I think it's time to get into the design first and foremost. 7.9mm in thickness and a weight of 192 grams are reasonable for a diagonal of 6.55 inches. It's a light and comfy phone. It fits in my hand exactly like my very own personal OnePlus 6T does. It has a similar footprint, although it's a bit longer. Now, it's made of good materials, so glass at the back, glass at the front, and a plastic frame between, but it's quite grippy and has quality buttons which really are easy and nice to press. So Gorilla Glass 5 is available at the front and back side. There are pretty skinny bezels, so what's not to love here? It's simple, it's clean, it's pleasant, and also good looking if you choose this hue. Okay, so we're done with the design. I'm happy with it, even though we're lacking IP60 certification. The screen here, this one is an AMOLED. It's actually a 6.57 inch AMOLED with a resolution of 2400 over 1080 pixels with an aspect of 20:9 and HDR10 plus support, which is pretty important if you want a wider range of colors during your playback. Speaking of playback, we have our typical test video here and we're ready to fill the screen with it. As you can see, we're not bothered by the notch, by the teardrop notch for the selfie camera. The experience is immersive on account of the narrow bezels. The screen is quite bright, actually very bright, has a wide range of colors, also does pretty well when it comes to the viewing angles. Not many objections in that regard, and even the contrast in full sunlight was satisfying. Okay, so the pixels have a pentile matrix arrangement, and when it comes to the brightness test, we achieve a level of 637 lux units, which places it pretty close to our top 10. So this is excellent. It's above the LG Velvet, the OnePlus Nord, and the Motorola Edge, but below the Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G and the Oppo Find X2. So that's it screen-wise, and there's a mountain, believe me, a mountain of settings to play with when it comes to this display here. And of course they're related to the always-on display, lots of them, which came with MIUI 12, but also related to the screen itself, the color scheme. There's the anti-flicker mode, this is the actual color scheme, extra advanced options, color temperature, and so much more. We're satisfied with the screen and we're moving further towards greener pastures, and I'm going to go inside the phone this time, starting with the CPU, which is a familiar face. It's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G, accompanied by 6 gigs of RAM or 8 gigs of RAM, depending on the version of phone you have. So let's see our version here. You have this app, and we have the version with 6 gigs of RAM and also 128 gigabytes of storage. Okay, so aside from that, there's no micro SD card slot, in case you're wondering, so they skipped that aspect, and also they skipped, well, the lag. The phone is a stranger to the word lag. No matter what I installed on it, what I played on it, how many upgrades and updates I did, there were zero problems with the lag. Actually, it's a quite snappy phone, if you ask me. We also did benchmarks, if you're trying to keep things relevant. So this is the benchmark department. This is Antutu 8. We scored a pretty high 323K, and with this score we surpassed the Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G, which is its direct rival, the same CPU, also the Motorola Edge and the LG Velvet. We scored below the OnePlus Nord and the Huawei P40 Lite 5G with its strong Kirin CPU. Now, if you want to talk about other tests, we have the famous Geekbench 5. Here we are with a multi-core subtest. The 30th spot is not bad considering how many phones we've tested. We surpassed Motorola Edge, Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G and LG Velvet. We scored below the OnePlus Nord, Huawei P40 Lite 5G, and well, that's about it. When it comes to the graphical benchmark, it's 3D Mark Slingshot Extreme ES 3.1. It's a mouthful, but it's important for gamers. First and foremost, it beats OnePlus Nord, Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G, and the Motorola Edge. Scores below the iPhone SE 2020 and below the Huawei P40 Lite 5G. As you probably figured out already, in general, we're able to beat most Snapdragon 765G processor phones, but not the Huawei P40 Lite 5G and also not the OnePlus Nord, but we actually had a superior version with a lot of RAM on that model. Now, are there any temperature sacrifices, you ask me? Nope. So in benchmarks, we only got as high as 31.2 degrees Celsius, which is definitely not overheating, and in games it was a shocker, only 30.9 degrees Celsius, one of the coolest phones out there. When I say cool, I'm talking about the temperature strictly. Okay, we proceed now to the battery, 4160 mAh, 20 watt charging, and we skip straight to the results of our test. So, video playback is a quite solid 16 hours, 7 minutes. This is merely video playback, above Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G, above Huawei P40 Lite 5G, below the OnePlus Nord and its excellent result, and below the Motorola Edge. When it comes to continuous usage, here we are with 14 hours and 54 minutes, beating OnePlus Nord, Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G and LG Velvet. Throughout this review, I'm going to keep comparing those phones because they have the same CPU and, well, some of them are pricier. Okay, so with this value here, I should probably mention we also got beaten by a few of these phones I keep mentioning. We got beaten by the Motorola Edge, Samsung Galaxy A31 and the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 Lite. The charging is 1 hour and 29 minutes. Not the best in the world, but also not the worst. I've seen the OnePlus Nord definitely performing faster, and after 30 minutes you're at 45%, after 1 hour you're 86%. That's it battery wise. Now let's talk about the acoustic experience. We are only treated to a singular speaker here, you can see the holes, and let's make some music. And by the way, we also have an audio jack at the top side. Okay, so making music is what we do. Let's pick some copyright free music from here, and here we go. Okay, so you got to hear a human voice, a bunch of beats and some electronic music to boot and some impressions. Now, first of all, the volume is quite generous here. The bass was pretty solid for a mid-range phone. The highs were okay, there's no distortion, and the voice feels pretty warm in both movies and series and the games which have voiceovers and, well, also music, obviously. Now, I won't leave this to chance. We actually do measurements here. So the power of the volume, we measured that, and we achieved a pretty impressive 90.7 decibels with an acoustic sample test, and this is quite a solid result. It's actually close to top 20. It beats the likes of Motorola Edge and OnePlus Nord. It stays below the Xiaomi Mi A3 and the Huawei P40 Lite 5G. In games, things got better, 101.1 decibels. It's actually a very solid result. Everything past 100 gets our thumbs up, superior to the Samsung Galaxy A71, OnePlus Nord and the Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G. However, below the Samsung Galaxy A41 and the Huawei P40 Lite 5G. Okay, so I think we're done with the acoustics. We're satisfied with the singular bottom speaker, which is quite loud. And let's talk about the cameras. First of all, there's a teardrop notch here holding a 16 megapixel shooter for selfies. If we go to the back side, we have a quad camera setup with a dual LED flash, and there's a main 48 megapixel camera with AI technology, accompanied by an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera and also 2 megapixel macro camera plus another 2 megapixel bokeh camera. It shoots 4K at 30 frames per second. There's a 960 frames per second slow motion mode, actually ultra slow motion. We have an AI mode, we have a macro mode, we have a pro mode, portrait mode, and there's also a pro mode in which you can choose your lens from the 3 available. Okay, so there are actually 4, but you know what I mean, the bokeh is not exactly up for selection. This is the gallery of shots we've taken, quite a few of them, and frankly speaking, I'm impressed. I think I'm going to skip straight to the conclusion because that's exactly what you need to know. This phone is competing with the Huawei P40 Lite 5G, the OnePlus Nord, Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G, the Motorola Edge, and the Moto G 5G Plus. Those are exactly the phones fighting it, and also the LG Velvet. And this one has all the chances to take the cake. There are often times when it feels like you're using a flagship phone. First of all, the colors are a bit more muted than usual. They're not as vivid, but they're also more realistic. And the ultra-wide shots we've taken do not mess up the colors, and the sky is always rendered correctly. So those are big pluses, the colors, even though some people may prefer the vivid colors. Okay, so the zoom is quite decent considering we're working with digital zoom, actually more than decent to be honest. So far, solid ultra-wide, solid zoom, and even the close-ups look great. Even though the macros are a bit hit and miss at times, I was happy with the result. And the texture of the objects and the scenery was impressive. Here we have a lot of light and here we have a lot of shade, and they're married together in this scenery with some pretty impressive representations of the, well, swans leaving the nest. Okay, even more here. I'm actually very happy with the texture of the swans here and their special covering. Okay, so here we have a bunch of flowers which are excellently cut from their background with a lot of details. This is a pretty poor macro shot because it dilutes the color and doesn't exactly impress me. And we've gotten to the selfies. So up so far we've praised the phone, but this is the area where it gets the highest praise of all, the selfies, believe it or not. We have a ton of details here. If you look closely, you can see the mark left by my sunglasses on my nose and a lot of other marks left through time by, I don't know, razors or pimples or things like that. So a lot of details in these selfies and an excellent texture of the skin, the eyes, the hair. I've left aside all beautification options. I actually removed them and I'm pretty happy with the result, to be honest. The contrast is a bit strong, but nothing out of the ordinary. The face isn't as white as a ghost as I've seen on other phones. So Color Me impressed the most of all the super high mid-range phones with the same Snapdragon CPU. Excellent shots of flowers here. However, once again, a bit hit and miss if you go in too close. And my favorite shots are by far these ones. Those hanged up pictures of flowers are totally impressive and they're wallpaper worthy. Once again, a phone that's pretty close to a flagship most times, and these are daytime shots. It beats OnePlus Nord, Motorola Edge Velvet, Huawei P40 Lite 5G. It beats all of them. When it comes to the low light capture, I would say that it's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're, well, too warm and red. So, for example, this one is a bit red and also a bit too warm, and other times, well, they're gentle yellow, which is actually the color of the scenery. The ultra-wide is definitely red, so you should skip it. So not that bad. When it comes to the quantity of light we captured, things are quite solid, so you can rely on that. But every once in a while, you'll see that some of the shots are warmer and tend towards a more orange or red approach. Definitely skip the ultra-wide. However, this one is a pretty solid phone when it comes to the low light capture. And if you want to make things better and get rid of the, well, red hue, there's the night mode, which frankly speaking is pretty impressive at this level, and Xiaomi has evolved a bit. Okay, so night mode was also impressive. I feel that it can easily compete with the best in the field, like the OnePlus Nord and the Huawei P40 Lite 5G. And now we go to the videos, and to do that, to navigate the ton of videos we have more easily, there's a special app here, and we have 13 videos. Hope it's lucky this time. Okay, so first things first, I'm descending a set of stairs with a phone that's lacking optical image stabilization, and here we are with an excellent stabilization. Electronic, of course. So that one checks the box. Okay, now selfie videos are satisfying, although not that well stabilized, and the contrast is a bit intense, if you ask me. They actually remind me of the Galaxy A51 and A71, which also had intense contrast, but a bit better stabilization and details. Here we have some colors. There was a lot of sun here, and I'm happy to inform you we do not suffer from overexposure as many phones do nowadays. The vegetation looks realistic, and we have even more shots here, even some slow motion ones to show you. like for example this one. Totally slow down the wheel of the car here, even though it's only shot in HD. And overall I'm pretty impressed by the quality, but I find it inferior overall compared to the Galaxy A51 and A71. There's an extra level of crispness which is lacking here compared to the Samsung phone. Don't get me wrong, the capture is pretty solid, what we got here. I mean, it delivers all the emotions, the details, the colors, the clarity, but it should be even more crisp to impress the eye. We're at about 85% capacity of a Galaxy A71. And this is daytime. We also have low light video, and as usual, for a mid-range phone, there aren't many chances to shine. This is definitely not it. It's yellow, it's pretty warm color-wise. It's shaky and it's got a flicker, so definitely not something you're going to use for your memories in, well, traveling around the world. This is pretty much it. It still remains a pleasant surprise camera-wise, possibly one of the best mid-range Xiaomi cameras I've seen lately, and I think it's time to discuss connectivity. Okay, so for connectivity, I'm going to start off with an USB-C port at the bottom and move further to the audio jack and then to infrared emitter here, which you're going to use to control your TV set. And you're probably one of those people like me who always loses the remote. And then we have the 4G, we have the 5G, we got the Wi-Fi dual band, we got the Wi-Fi direct. We're all covered up with connectivity options. We also have your Bluetooth 5.1, dual band GPS, GLONASS, BDS, Galileo, QZSS, NFC, and I think I covered them all. Okay, so the calls were loud and clear, no problem in that regard, and let's see how we did when it comes to the famous speed test. Okay, so speed test is an app from a company called Ookla, and these are the results we achieved, which are flagship worthy, to be honest. In Wi-Fi we got as high as 347 megapers download, 23.8 megapers upload. On 4G 253 over 40 megapers. I would say I'm happy with the experience, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is easily comparable with a bunch of flagships. Okay, we're done with everything. Time to talk about the novelty here. The novelty is MIUI 12. Okay, so MIUI 12 came out a few weeks ago, and we've gotten the update on this handset. It came with MIUI 11 pre-installed. It's still based on Android 10, not Android 11, and let's see some of the novelties here. So first of all, the first thing I noticed is the change in the fonts. They're more bolded and more accented in the settings department. The icons are pretty much the same, but there are novelties related to the wallpapers. We have some superb wallpapers now, actually called super wallpapers, and it feels like you're zooming in from the space to the surface of the planet Mars or Earth, and that's pretty cool. And those are the effects you're dealing with. That one was for the red planet, and this one is for Earth, so that's fine. Okay, so Xiaomi also duplicated the control center from Apple. Now you can see the regular notifications and well, quick settings, but if you go here to the display section and select other things like additional settings, let's actually try and find it. So display, there's also, let's find it here, text size, VR, here we are, control center, and this is it. Use the new control center. Voila, you should be able to see it now triggered like this, exactly like on the iPhone. And check it out, so you cannot trigger it from here, you have to trigger it from here. So there's a separation of the notifications and of the control center. Once again, copy it from Apple. Not sure if there will be a lawsuit, but it's pretty similar and you'll feel right at home if you have an iPhone. Okay, aside from that and aside from the wallpaper, what else? We have an app drawer, and the applications are organized by communication, entertainment, photography, tools, news, reading, and game. Other than that, the experience is pretty similar to the one before. As usual, Xiaomi has two columns for multitasking, and I feel that the thumbnails are a bit larger now. And there's a novelty here as well. So if I'm going to keep press this one here, I can actually turn it into a floating window, which is new, and I can move it around the screen and add an extra layer of multitasking on top of the already existing one. And that's how you make it disappear. Okay, so speaking of security, I actually didn't mention security, but here we are. There's a fast fingerprint scanner embedded in the screen, and you can actually have more tweaks and options. Xiaomi wants to get rid of its reputation regarding security, so you can actually tweak some of the apps and their permissions when it comes to accessing your, well, location, call logs, contacts, and so forth. So all of those can be set up, all the permissions. We also have improved and new and beautiful looking always on display features. And there is a new dark mode. It's system wide and also applied to third-party apps. And let's see what else. Privacy options checked. The sliders that appear in the menu have new animations. Everything gets new animations. And for example, if you uninstall an app, it will basically explode. So let me just try and uninstall Dropbox, for example, see what happens. Uninstall, and here we go. It popped up. That's only one example of the new animations that we have. So you can change permissions, you can revoke permissions. We got a floating window, we got the ultra high resolution, you got new control gestures. So if you want to get rid of 3 buttons at the bottom, you can swipe left or right for back, gestures taken from Android 10. Okay, so there's also the ultra battery saver, which is new. I actually felt we had it before, but apparently it's a new feature which is supposed to add something like 5 hours to your battery life, and this is pretty cool. Also new applications, like for example the weather app is brand new and it's supposed to totally mimic the weather effects in your area. It's definitely cleaner than before, and also the file manager has been improved. It's much more concise now and better organized. This is the folder arrangement. It feels like something out of Windows, and we also have a new gallery. And okay, so this is the gallery. It's much cleaner now, better organized, and I feel it's a bit inspired by iOS yet again. Okay, so that's everything we had to say about MIUI 12. I'm sure I forgot something, but there's always a text review for you to check out. Okay, so now it's the time of the pros and cons regarding the Xiaomi Mi 10 Lite 5G. On the pro side, obviously MIUI 12 is a great addition here. It's probably the biggest upgrade I've seen ever since the first One UI came out in the world of Android. You're supposed to be shocked by the following update, OxygenOS 11. That's coming soon. Anyway, excellent MIUI 12. Glass back is very important in this mid-range segment, believe it or not. It has 5G on a budget. It's got a pretty high performance, and at the same time, aside from having a high performance, the device also delivers a bright screen. To be honest, a very bright screen, and it also provides you with an excellent camera all around, which is something most mid-range phones don't nowadays, except for the macro and the lack of a proper zoom. I think we're covering all the bases. We got some unusual features like the infrared and the audio jack, which were missing from other handsets nowadays. Solid battery, bright screen, a loudspeaker at the bottom, and once again great cameras all around, including the selfie one. Now, those are the pros. On the cons side, I will definitely bring up the lack of a microSD card slot and also the lack of IP68 certification, stereo speakers, fast charge, and I mean proper fast charge. Macro is a bit of a bummer, and the 4K capture is not as crisp as the one from the Galaxy A71 and A51, and the low light captures feel a bit too warm and red for my taste. In the end, you know exactly which handsets can rival this one. It fights the Motorola Edge, OnePlus Nord, also the LG Velvet, the Huawei P40 Lite 5G, Oppo Reno 3 Pro 5G, and Motorola Moto G 5G Plus. So far, it has managed to beat them all, to be honest. It has the glass back as an advantage, it has the camera as an advantage, performance, it's got the design, the screen, MIUI 12, so everything is going for it. So if you're really planning to buy a super high mid-range phone with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G, this may be the best option right now. Hope this review helped you. You're definitely buying this phone for the camera, performance, design, looks, and some of you may also buy it for MIUI 12. This is it from gsnaron.com. Bye bye.